Here we see the collection. It's basically these 4 short boxes, although one of the short boxes is considerably longer than the others, and a stack of magazines. And just a really nice, solid collection of Silver and Bronze Age comics. There is another box of modern comics, but these are the more interesting ones. The modern comics were sort of common. Some Spider-Man, some Batman, that sort of thing. But basically, this guy was really into horror. That was his thing. He liked scary comics. And he kept them in pretty good condition overall. There's a modern one. There's a couple of modern ones in here, but there's a lot of Neil Adams, Bernie Wrightson. I was actually digging through this collection on Friday morning. Of course, I always pull out as many Neil Adams comics as I can because his work is very popular. There's Batman and Wolverine combined into one. So, Aquaman number 13. Unbeknownst to me, while I was digging through this collection, pulling out as many Neil Adams comics as I could find, Neil himself had actually passed away, and I did not know that. So, I mean, it's not really ironic. I mean, he's a very popular artist, and I would have been seeking out his books regardless because his stuff always sells for me. He's one of the all-time great comic artists. Here's a record, sealed, never been opened. It's the Incredible Hulk book and record, and you can open it up and you can play the 45 RPM record. What else? Let's see. There's another Neil Adams cover. I mean, Neil Adams was the greatest cover artist of the 60s and early 70s. That's a weird one. And this one was released only in Dallas, never sold anywhere else. Those early Spider-Man. So yeah, as you can see, there's the final issue of House of Mystery. That's sort of collectible. Lots of House of Mystery. Here's a Buster Brown comic. I didn't check the year on that one, but hey, you know, it's old. It's probably 30s or 40s. It's like Tarzan number 1 from Marvel. That's a reprint. Millie the Model from the 60s. I always think these are fun. Get a kick out of these old Millie's. Elvira. We'll get back to Elvira in a minute. Let's see. Perilla. Moving right along. Now, Amazing Adventures was a series from Marvel that never really caught on. The main character, Killraven, was kind of boring. There was nothing to distinguish him. So there's a lot of these. Not a complete set, but there's a lot. The Living Mummy was a series that he doubled up on. He started buying 2 copies of every issue. You got number 8 here twice. Number 7 is here twice. Number 5, which is the first edition, is here twice. Number 9 is here twice. Of all the books to double up on, you know. And I always play this game where I think to myself, if only, here's a She-Hulk, number 1. If only this person had collected Spider-Man or Batman exclusively and forgot about all the other stuff. Here's a very kind of funky werewolf cover that amuses me. Conga, big giant ape. But overall, as you can see, the books are in pretty nice condition. And what a variety. Everything from Funny Animals, Oswald the Rabbit, to Disney, to Thunderbolt. There's a superhero who really needs to rethink his costume. But I mean, yeah, these are kind of fun. They just don't come along that often. When you're in my line of work, when you're a comic book reseller, this is what you dream of. An original owner collection of silver and bronze comics. Yes, there is a box of modern also, but again, I put those aside because this is the interesting stuff. This is the fun stuff. That one's got some value to it. This is, modern comics you can find anywhere. They're all around. But an original owner collection of silver and bronze doesn't come along every day. I mean, you generally have to wait for someone to die to get a collection like this, and that's exactly what happened here. Gentleman passed away. He'd collected for, as you can see, 30 or 40 years. He had 3,000 comics. Lived in Las Vegas. Oh, Dave Stevens cover. I went over there. By pure chance, I happened to be the first one to go over there because the widow did a very poor job of advertising the comics, as people usually do when they're not comic book people. Just the same as if you're not a baseball card person or a stamp person or a coin person. Of course, you're going to do a poor job advertising it because you don't know anything about it. Moving right along. But she had posted her ad online. I think it was Facebook Marketplace. And I looked at it, and she only posted a picture of three bins of comics and 3 short boxes. And she said, in the ad, I have 3,000 comics. And I looked at her ad, and the picture clearly didn't show 3,000 comics. It only showed, maybe 1,000 comics. So, Dead of Night number 4. Okay. So, I noticed in one of the pictures that she posted, there was a list, and you couldn't read the list because it was too small. But I asked her, I said, could you please send me the list? And she said, sure. So she sent me the list, and basically the list seemed really incomplete. The list had about 300 comics on it, but she told me there were 3,000. So I got to thinking, there's a lot of comics that I'm not seeing. And I wrote to her, I said, what's going on with the comics? And she said, well, look, I'm going out of town for 3 months. I'm going to Australia, but you should come, before I leave, you should come and check out the comics. And I thought, well, it's a 4-hour drive to Vegas. She hasn't really shown me anything great yet, but I could tell from the era that there were some comics from the 70s and 80s at least. So that's when I made a leap of faith. I said, she says she has 3,000 comics. The list isn't that impressive. The photos aren't that impressive. She even sent me pictures of, people reach into a box and they pull out a dozen comics and they send you pictures at random. And they're usually not that impressive because they don't know which ones to send you. Oh, this is a fun one. Uncle Scrooge goes to Disneyland. So, here we go. Elvira. This is the crown jewel of this collection. First of all, I got not 1, not 2, but 3 copies of Elvira number 1. And then there's more Elvira, which is a very collectible series, including the rare, wait for it, that's number 5. Where is number 11? There it is, number 11, another Dave Stevens cover. Surely one of the greatest comic book covers of all time, certainly of the 80s. And that is, out of all the things, here's the first appearance of Brother Voodoo. That's a collector's item too. Key issue. Of all the things I got, I posted pictures online when I showed people this collection, and all the things in here, all these amazing, wonderful things. The one thing people were most excited about was Elvira. Oh, is it a complete set? What's the condition like? So, of course, I will sell those, and I love that I have 3 copies of number 1. At least he doubled up on that, which was good. So, this is a really fun collection. It's got a little of everything. Some superheroes, some monsters. Here's Tower of Shadows number 1, John Romita cover. It's a reprint. Journey into Mystery number 4. Controversial issue of Doctor Strange. Marvel got sued for that issue because the artist used an album cover of Amy Grant that he wasn't supposed to use, and she didn't like that. Captain Marvel. What's on the back? And a lot of these, there's 2 comics per package, per bag. So, again, I bought about 500 items from them all together, which means I left 2,500 items behind, and there was another person scheduled to come right after me. That person ended up flaking, which means she still has 2,500 comics that no one has seen yet. Now she's gone. Now she's in Australia for the next 3 months, but I wrote to her, and I said, hey, can I come back and see these comics again in a few months? And hopefully I'll get a slightly lower price last time. A lot of these comics have price stickers on them. The husband, before he died, he did put price stickers on a bunch of these books with high prices. Like, for instance, this one says $25 on it. And, I wasn't looking to spend $25 a book as a reseller. I can't afford to be spending that much. So I was very nervous about the pricing, and I put a lot of books back that I was sort of interested in, but at $10 or $15 a book, I wasn't that interested. But then, after all was said and done, she ended up charging me about $3 per comic, which I thought was very fair. That means I definitely overpaid for some of the modern books, but I definitely underpaid for a lot of the older ones. Paid $1,500 altogether. Dracula is a superhero. Overall, very happy with my purchase. Afterwards, she wrote to me and she said, I hope you're not going to sell these comics because it was very emotional for me letting them go. And I told her, don't worry, the comics are going to a good home and they'll be greatly appreciated. It might not be my home that they stay in, but they definitely will be appreciated. And then these magazines. A lot of the Warrens, creepy, eerie. A lot of the Marvel mags. Tomb of Dracula, the final issue. The Wonder Woman graphic novel. I love these old Marvel mags from the 70s. I was just a little kid. I was too young to read them. But I always I get a kick out of them now. I mean, this stuff, it just doesn't come along very often. You don't see it every day. The Mighty Mouse, I don't know why I grabbed it. This guy, his tastes varied from funny animals to horror. Pookie Pig. I mean, just so many great books. Don't even have time to show you all of them. But as you can see, the final issue of Epic Illustrated. These books are going to last me for many months to come. And I can't wait to, I gotta show you my favorite one. It's kind of a funny one. Anyway, that's the collection. Time to get to work.